could be big trouble here.
Hi, I'm Conrad Smith, former player now working with international rugby players. You're about to watch a selection of videos of head contact events, covering important issues such as the degree of danger, tackle dynamics, two-man tackles, and mitigating factors. These are all vital elements in how officials will make decisions, and the videos explain what they consider and when a tackle will be assessed as illegal, and when a yellow as opposed to a red card is going to be issued. After each clip, you'll see a summary of the head contact process that explains how the decision is reached in a systematic way, going through the same 4 steps. Has there been head contact? Is there foul play? What is the level of danger? And are there any mitigating factors? This mirrors the calibration meetings which World Rugby have been running in the last few months in the lead up to the Men's Rugby World Cup. These meetings bring together players, coaches, referees, citing commissioners and judicial officers who debate and discuss each stage of the process in the hope that we get greater consistency from decision makers and understanding from those who play the game.
You know, we don't coach upright tackles, you don't coach high tackles, but in honesty, you coach a similar technique to this. This is a pretty good clean out. You know, you see guys doing this against hit shields, getting low, cleaning the jackler. But the obvious mistake here is the contact to the head, and there is flush direct contact to the head. So like I say, although the technique is pretty sound, the action itself with that contact to the head is reckless.
Pretty significant contact on the field. So we'd be looking at this in the background to establish, first of all, if there was head contact. Once we've seen that there is head contact and that the cleaner can do more not to hit the head, we'd be initiating a review with the referee to put that on the screen. And obviously the player would be sanctioned, as Conrad said in here, with the high degree of danger, direct, significant contact to the head, no mitigation, would be ending up at a red card.
We understand this is difficult for players. We understand that there's small margins. But when we go through the process, the reality is we do have a head contact, and it's a pretty flush head contact.
Yeah, so again, first of all, as a TMO, we see contact, we establish if it's head contact. If it is, we're now looking at it to see whether or not we need to initiate this with the TMO. Potentially, we could call a live penalty if we believed it was. In this instance, we would be initiating a referral. We're looking at the actions of the tackler to establish the degree of danger. In this instance, we believe the degree of danger is high. There is a significant head contact. Head-on-head contact is considered, head contact. It's not just shoulder or head or arm to head. Head-to-head contact is a high tackle. And so for those factors, we'd consider high danger. But in this particular instance, we believe that the defender is passive. He's got his feet planted and he's absorbing some of that contact. So for that reason, we'd come down to a yellow card with the referee.
Yeah, it's an interesting clip. Again, it's a poor tackle technique. It's an upright tackle. You see, probably the fault. The speed that the tackler is moving into the contact, he sort of loses all control, and then when the late, the direction, the step back in, probably catches him by surprise a little bit. But go through the process. There's head contact. There's fault on the part of the tackler. He's upright. However, when you look at this, there is a late and sudden and significant change from the ball carrier. There's a couple of steps in field, and so we feel that's a mitigating factor. It lessens the fault somewhat on the part of the tackler, and so that brings it down to a yellow card.
you know, for the players out there, it's really important to understand that the head contact process does try to give referees the ability to make good judgments around things like mitigation. And it's been really well described how, you know, that obvious sudden and significant late step changed the dynamics of that tackle. So whilst the tackler's at fault because he's upright, and as Conrad said, he actually came off worse, but we're trying to protect almost sometimes tacklers from themselves as well. So Brendon, I might get you just to lead again. You're up in the TMO box. This jumps up at you. What? How are you viewing that?
Yeah, there's a strong tackle at the back. We've asked our technician to bring this up for us to look at. Clear head or shoulder to head, sorry, there, contact, which we can see it's at high speed from the defender coming through. So clearly it's foul play. We'd bring that to the attention of the referee to look at. And this one really is clear head contact. It is foul play. It's incredibly high danger, rushing up out of the line, not really in control of his actions. So it is high danger. And then there's no obvious mitigation with this one. So I think this is a pretty clear red card.
And we should point out there's nothing wrong, you know, with coming out of line. It's a part of the game of rugby. We're still encouraging players to, you know, if they can read a play, by all means, you go up and you can shut down an attacking option with a good, accurate decision. But it must be said, when you come up at speed, you take that risk, you are susceptible to late changes in direction. And if you get it wrong, as is the case here, then you've got to live with the consequences.
Promising teenage flanker. Kata knows he has the penalty. Oh, hang on.
Well, there appears to be a clear high tackle. We'd have another look at this, and once we need to establish was there head contact, which there is head contact right there. So is there foul play? Yes, there is. The player is upright. He's tackling too high. And then we're looking at the degree of danger. So the first thing that I think probably everyone can see here is that the initial point of contact is on the shoulder. So it's on the shoulder and then sliding up onto the head. So that is a part of the process for determining the degree of danger. So in this particular instance, we believe the degree of danger is not high. It's not at the red card threshold. So we would be at a yellow card for this, based on the fact that we can clearly see the tackle hits the shoulder and then slides up to the head. It's still a dangerous tackle, but for those reasons, we'd be ending up at yellow card.
It's an important part of the process, you know, that level of danger. We sometimes skim over it, but because we're talking about contact to the head, so necessarily, you know, you often think, and quite rightly, that there's always a high level of danger. But I think it is really important that we take into account these sort of incidents where the fact is that the initial contact wasn't to the head, it was to even to the arm and shoulder, and then it's glanced up, and you've got to take that into account.
What are the important bits for you here in this contact?
Yeah, so again, the first part of it is to establish is there head contact, which there clearly is here. So there is head contact, so I would be looking at it. But the next part of the next question, as Craig explained, is was there foul play? And in this particular example, we'd be looking at the actions of the tackler to establish if there is any foul play. And we believe here that 11 Blue is bent at the hips. He is in a low position, trying to make a legal tackle, and it's for other circumstances that the head contact occurs. So the fact that the player is falling and dropping into it. So because Blue is bent at the hips trying to make a legal tackle, when we get to that second question of was there any foul play, we would actually answer no in this instance. And so I wouldn't be referring this for the referee on the basis that I don't believe that there's any foul play by the tackler.
And Conrad, the players want to know, don't they, that if they get themselves in a legal position to make a legal tackle, that if there's something outside of their control, if there's a slip from the ball carrier or the guy suddenly falls into contact, that they're not held responsible for an unavoidable head contact. So
yeah, exactly. And you know, you've used the right words. There's nothing more than that the tackler could have done. He was in a good position to make a legal tackle, but it was the actions of the ball carrier, you know, literally falling over in front of him. So, you know, there's no fault on his part. We don't want to see decisions go against him, and players, you know, that's important. Playing a game of rugby, these things are going to happen, and you don't want to be penalised for them. So, yeah, that follows, you know, it's sound logic, you know, the way Brendon's explained it.
The France team medic, and well, that's Gilchrist catching.
These multi-tackle situations are difficult, and you know, as players, we're often saying, you know, that the impact does, when you're talking about split seconds and there's two people involved in the tackle, the movement from that first impact does have a huge, you know, influence on where you end up making the tackle. But in saying all that, I actually think here, as Brendon points out, the reckless nature, the speed and the action of the tackler in this instance, where the arm isn't really wrapping, so you're leading with the shoulder, you leave yourself open, and there wasn't a huge change of direction from that ball carrier after that initial tackle.
The understanding around how the dynamics of a tackle can change when you've got two players involved. And so those dynamics do change late. And we do look to try and mitigate whenever we can. If the dynamics have changed late, and that means that the time and space to make your tackle is significantly changed because of another tackler, referees will always look to mitigate. But in order for the referee to be able to mitigate, the tackler needs to be attempting to make a legal tackle. And so, Conrad, I might get you then to lead on this clip, which is probably the one that we're talking about, where we do have a little bit more sympathy for a second tackler whose time gets really changed because of the dynamics of the first tackler.
Yeah, I think this is a good one to compare, because here, as you say, the dynamics do change, and so what you're looking at here is what could have been a legal tackle from, I think it is White 10, who comes in here. It looks, is looking it's a lot better picture than what we saw in the last, where you're leading with the shoulder. Here, he looks ready to make a legal tackle, follow with the wrap. The impact in the first tackle shifts that target area completely, and so where the tackler ends up making contact is quite different than, in that split second beforehand where he was aiming. So, this is where still there's a fault on the tackler. He's upright, he's made contact with the head, he's gone too high. But, here you can see the mitigation, because of that initial impact has shifted the ball carrier quite significantly, and you can mitigate around that.
We had some conversations around, is the tackler bent enough? There is a little bit of a bend in what he's doing. But fundamentally, we still believe he is upright, which makes it foul play. So that was an interesting point that we canvassed. But so the messaging is, you got to totally bend at the hips, bend at the knees, like the language you were using earlier, Craig, for it to not be foul play. And then once we've established that it's foul play, for the reasons that Conrad just described, we would be using mitigation through the second tackler and the change of dynamics to arrive at a yellow card.